In the last video, we presented the new theories of the fundamental code and the singularity of light. We explored the idea that what we know as subatomic fields, waves, and particles are the manifestation of a fundamental code, the universe's basic instruction manual that governs everything. In this code, light has a special role. It provides the universal speed limit at which information is conveyed, but it also defines the boundaries of space and time, as, from its perspective, light crosses no space or time, meaning it exists in a timeless, spaceless state. This is the singularity of light. As this singularity connects to every point in time and space, it must contain all the information we know as space-time, every event from the Big Bang to the final demise of the universe. But what are the implications of this theory? Can it help to explain the strange phenomena we see in the universe? Let's start with the subatomic effects we covered in the second of our videos. We saw that quantum entanglement seems to defy the rule that nothing can travel faster than light speed, because two entangled particles can be separated by large distances, yet show complementary actions instantaneously. This surely points to an underlying or embedded code. It suggests that these particles are part of a connected system of information, meaning no communication through space-time is necessary to produce the effects we see. How about the famous double-slit experiment that has so baffled scientists? Here, if we fire photons one by one at a screen with a divider in front and cut two slits in the divider, we see a wave pattern on the screen, like you would get if you threw two pebbles into a pond and watched the ripples cross each other. This suggests that each photon is acting as a wave that interferes with itself, meaning it must simultaneously occupy more than one position, known as superposition. But when a detector is placed next to the slits to determine which one the photon is going through, the wave pattern disappears and the photon acts like a particle, going through one slit or the other, known as wave collapse. What does it mean? Physicists have speculated as to the answer ever since the phenomenon was discovered by Englishman Thomas Young in 1801. It has spawned strange theories such as Hugh Everett's many worlds, where each possible position of the photon within the wave represents another universe branching off in a slightly different direction, parallel to ours, but completely inaccessible. Seemingly equally bizarre is biocentrism, which suggests that the reason a detector changes the wave into a particle is that it requires conscious observation to give these particles settled positions, meaning time and space are not the external realities they appear, but rather are the product of our own minds. So, bizarre and baffling were the discoveries in quantum mechanics that after a colleague of the famous physicist Werner Heisenberg publicly presented a quantum theory, Danish quantum expert Niels Bohr observed, "We all agree that your theory is crazy. The question which divides us is whether it is crazy enough. But the key to comprehending the results of the double-slit experiment is to understand that the wave is not physical. Rather, it's a statistical probability as to where the particle could be. This suggests that at its most basic level, our universe is not physical at all, but is information, a fundamental code. We can then hypothesize that photons and other particles only take defined positions in time and space when required to interact with other variables. This can be termed the law of efficient information." But why should particles like the photon take the form of a wave in the first place? Perhaps the answer is this. If subatomic particles were to take defined positions in time and space at all times, it would require perhaps many trillions of times more information. Instead, we see these particles only taking defined positions when interacting with other variables, in other words, when required to do so. This again points to an underlying code. How about the mysteries of dark matter and dark energy? If we see the subatomic world as, at its core, just information, we can conclude that dark matter and energy are information hidden by design. They appear to regulate the universe, ensuring that it neither collapses through gravitational effects nor expands uncontrollably. Why they are hidden from view is a matter of speculation. Our theory can be compared to the alternatives. String theory suggests that what we perceive as subatomic particles are actually manifestations of strings in additional dimensions to the 4 dimensions of space-time. Loop quantum gravity suggests that the universe is made up of minuscule interlocking loops. The fundamental code and the singularity of light are not incompatible with either of these theories, but sees the universe at its most basic level as information. Then there's the many worlds theory, which, as we saw earlier, suggests that the uncertainty around the position of subatomic particles like photons exists because they actually represent an infinite array of possible outcomes, each representing a different parallel universe. Our theory rejects this claim, as the singularity of light reveals a single timeline. As we saw, biocentrism suggests that it takes human or animal consciousness to, as the jargon goes, collapse the wave function of subatomic particles into defined points in space and time. This could be thought of as a radically different interpretation to our theory, but one that, by seeing human consciousness as the singular of which the plural is unknown, as Erwin Schrödinger put it, implicitly recognizes a spiritual dimension to existence. By acknowledging that biocentrism only makes sense when you see individual consciousness as part of a single universal consciousness, a possibility we will turn to in the 7th video in our series. How might you go about proving or disproving the theory of the fundamental code and the singularity of light? Here we hit the same problem that all these other current cutting-edge theories suffer from, and this includes the most prominent theories of loop quantum gravity and string theory. Like the others, our theory lacks experimental evidence. In other words, while it cannot be falsified with our current knowledge and technology, it cannot be validated either. How would you go about validating that the subatomic world is the representation of a fundamental code? Science offers clues in the code within the DNA molecule and the statistical, probabilistic nature of the wave function found in quantum mechanics. But with current technological capabilities, we are not in a position to devise an experiment that could either falsify or validate the theory. But similarly, how would you go about validating or falsifying the idea that additional dimensions underpin the architecture of the 4 dimensions of spacetime, as string theory does, or that we live in one of an infinite number of parallel universes, as many worlds suggests? Even the tiny loops that loop quantum gravity suggests the universe is made of are far too small to be detectable with today's technology. So science has reached something of an impasse. Experimental physics continues to make advances on the largest scale thanks to powerful telescopes sent into space that are teaching us more about solar systems and galaxies beyond our own. While at the smallest scale, improved particle accelerator technology is still providing new experimental insights into subatomic effects. But theoretical physics has been unable to make progress in recent decades, descending into the Groundhog Day of a debating chamber of conflicting theories, all of which lack experimental evidence. So, we cannot discern which of the various competing theories offers the best path to deepening our understanding of the universe. This is the position into which we've launched the theory of the fundamental code and the singularity of light. The physics establishment will no doubt criticize or ignore it because it is not the product of mathematical modeling and seems like pure conjecture. But in reality, it builds on the foundations laid by Einstein's theory of relativity, quantum mechanics, and biological science. And as we've seen with biocentrism, theories derived from quantum observations are questioning the traditional scientific assumption that the external world can be investigated without the need to take account of the observer, us. Our consciousness is one of the most mysterious elements in the universe, yet science tells us that it's the only thing we can be sure is real, in the sense that science cannot tell us the true nature of what we perceive as the external world around us. As biocentrism suggests, our consciousness may only make sense as part of a universal consciousness. The rest of this video series looks at our place in the great cosmic drama. To get a complete explanation, of the groundbreaking new theories presented in this video. You can order your copy of the book, One Search for Truth, Reconciling Science and Religion in the 21st Century, by clicking on the link below.